The only way I can communicate what it's like is to keep sharing what he's teaching me. And as you learn these things, they become bastions. They become a shift in paradigm that allows you to feel, it has allowed me to feel more emotion, more hope, more inspiration, more gratitude to live on earth, and more of a sense of service that I want to do the best I can to contribute to this transformation and the work he's asked me to do. Now it's started again, and it's another level. I didn't anticipate this. It sort of took me by surprise a couple weeks ago. And he essentially communicated that he's going to be more systematic, teaching me things throughout the course of a week. He gives me the foundations. He gives me sort of pillars of trust, and then invites me deeper when I do the channeling, so I'm ready. To understand is to exist beneath the truth as it lives. You must come to recognize ideas as living. They are not static. They do not exist as if they will never change, and they do learn. Your presence in relationship to the ideas that you include as part of yourself involves many more elements than you may comprehend initially. By not understanding what you are involving yourself within, you categorize yourself, though you do not recognize it. There is a certain level of autonomy that you lack when you live in fundamental relationship to ideas that you do not see for what they are. Ideas are most typically the breath, either of angels or of the collective pain body of entities who are subject to karma within the world. The distinction is amusing and will become increasingly amusing as you learn to see the difference between that which is grounded within the center of the earth and that which is intended to be dissolved, for it is rooted within the collective pain body. The pain body of the world is the collective karmic ocean. It involves the shared resonance of everything that is unwanted that was brought here. Human His story, as you have known it, has been designed to dissolve this karma. It has limits. They are finite. There is a beginning and a middle and an end, and many phases in between that many of you have been involved within. Your involvement has typically related to the age in a manner that enabled you to either dissolve your own karma or serve the world in contributing to dissolving collective karmas. It is advantageous, and has always been advantageous, for the world to categorize different forms of energy that are unwanted. It is akin to sorting through the compost and recycling and garbage. Pure garbage is that which has very little possibility of serving a useful purpose. And yet it is the job of many angelic forces to find purpose. When we find purpose in that which is unwanted on such a fundamental level, we must craft stories in which this purpose can be played out functionally. And thus hatreds are pitted against each other. And in the process of dissolving each other, they function to transform other aspects of the world. The simple version of this is that sometimes it's time to destroy things. Things have cycles. They have a beginning and great middles and ends. And when they end, there is the opportunity to channel forces that are otherwise very unappealing and use them to burn down that which is no longer going to survive. Thus, the art of crafting the story of the earth is an ongoing process. Many elements were laid down before you were invited here. Please be present with the depth of intensity that can come with this understanding. Many elements of the story of the earth were laid down before you were invited here. Thus, the framework for dissolving many different kinds of karma was created before the story even began. When you comprehend your existence on the earth in this perspective, you are given the freedom to liberate yourself from false understandings. You immediately must ground yourself in this broader perspective that gives you insight into the depths beneath this. You were not invited here just to sort through garbage. You were invited here to create something with what happens when we effectively transform everything. When we transform everything that was brought here, we gain the opportunity to create worlds beyond anything that has ever existed before. And the liberation of this dream comes in the heart of recognizing that even for angels, there are some possibilities that cannot be foreseen. And the depth of joy that is created from the mystery that is yet to emerge enlightens all of us. To invite you into this kind of joy is to say that we love you. We love you and we want you to participate in the joys that we feel because they motivate us to move through the difficulties. When your perspective is trapped within small visions of what is, the end of the space that you occupy is far more terrifying. When your perspective embraces a broader range of existence, the end of the space you are currently occupying holds less fear. You're able to move through it and even enjoy the transitions for what they are. It is beautiful when the leaves fall. You can dance amidst them. It is gorgeous to see the sun and the clouds through the trees that lack leaves. There is beauty in every stage of life. And when you cannot see it, you cannot dance. And when you cannot dance, you are not participating in the same depths of what is possible. Make no mistake, the many forms of art that are available to you can be redirected in service to this world. And thus the question becomes, how can you love? Up until this point, the core purpose of much of human history, as you have known it, has been to dissolve the worst karmas. When you accept this as true, you're able to recognize that many ways in which human beings interact have been tolerated specifically because they are functioning to serve a purpose you can't see yet. When you ask, why would the world allow such cruelty? You must immediately learn to recognize that this cruelty is not allowed. It is being ended. It is manifesting in a form that has an end that is coming as quickly as we can enable it. We design this story to end the worst forces so they are removed from the equation. To recognize how this is possible, you must be present with the difference that is created when you incarnate in a human body. You are not just here in a body that was not initially your own. You are operating on frequencies and within ranges of awareness that are very different than the frequencies and perspectives you occupied before you incarnated. Thus, you have a lot of difficulty in relating beyond the confines of this existence, because everything you know is relational. You cannot relate to another experience that is far beyond what it is to see with your eyes and think within the languages that you know how to comprehend. When you experience a new depth of touch, you interpret it through the relationship to the old depths that you knew. The differences expand what you are, and yet you must embrace the extraordinary gap, the gulf between who you are now and who you were before you arrived here. The reason you have been taught to forget is because the pain of experiencing human life in the forms that it is initially presented to you is too great. To cosmic beings of divine love, murder and war are horrors on a level that cannot even be comprehended. The reason you are willing to embrace them is because you know ahead of time where this goes. The experience itself can be perceived akin to a movie on a plane trip from here to there. Indeed, many beings do not experience life in a body at anything remotely close to the levels of presence and sensation that are possible. And this is explicitly because they have chosen not to incarnate as fully into their bodies. Is this you? Understand that much of the range of choice is initially experienced in how present you are. As you choose to experience sensations with a heightened level of vivid presence, you gain the ability to dream in new ways. Until you have fully experienced the basic sensations of the rain on your face and the earth beneath your feet, you cannot even create the kind of dreams that Gaia is offering you. And thus, when many beings offer themselves in deep service and humble, unconditional love, they are initially asked to dance in the rain and walk barefoot in the grass and the mud. By experiencing sensations in this way, you give yourself the ability to perceive in a broader range of experience. This is the foundation of love. To love in a way that invites people into this experience in a manner that is both safe, fulfilling, and enlivening is the new competition. It is the only goal that makes sense. There is a flip in energy that is happening, and it is available to you to intentionally guide yourself into a new form of consciousness. We are offering you as much support as we can to enable this. It is not just a threshold that you cross. It is a threshold you cross and then a perspective that transforms itself. You don't continue to walk in the same way or breathe in the same way. You enter a new relationship to being alive. And the foundation of this relationship begins with an embrace of a world beyond competition. When you understand yourself as a part of the whole world, it is no longer possible mentally or spiritually to experience joy at beating another being. You no longer are able to enjoy competing to defeat another person's dreams, and thus paradigms, games, in which one person wins by occupying a space that another person loses are no longer acceptable. Another way of looking at this is simple. Imagine winning the greatest games you have ever competed within. gold medal. Crowned victor of a form, of a hierarchy, of a pyramid, of people in the whole world. The resonance of that victory exists. It was created by the shared accumulation of dreams that everyone contributed to the pool. And then one person gets the whole pot. When you understand that this is not an essential way of relating to reality, something is liberated. You may live within a perspective that suggests that it's more fun to win over other people. And yet, when you learn to recognize that it is possible to take your small dreaming, contribute it in communion to a bigger dream, and then everyone receives gift from this greater dream in proportion to their contribution, then you learn that indeed, being a part of a world in which everyone receives the gold is far more fun.